Hello and welcome to this presentation about functions. This presentation is intended for VCE computing students. Functions are one of the most fundamental concepts in computing, and before we look at the slides I kind of want to explain how I organise functions in my brain. I think of a function as being like a robot sidekick that has a very specific job. So, in a kind of Jetsons future, you've got a robot in the kitchen that'll help you with everything. But with functions, I've just got a sidekick here called beat eggs. So all they do is they beat the eggs for me. I hand them the eggs, they beat them, and they give them back. So they've got a nice clear name, and they do a job for me that I'll do over and over again in all sorts of contexts. So I just need to code that robot once to do its job well, and then I can just say, here's 2 eggs, it beats them, it gives them back to me. So let's have a look at what that looks like in practice. It's a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task, like beating the eggs or a calculation. When we use it, we talk about calling the function. These are sometimes, although unusually, called subroutines. You don't see that a lot, but if you see subroutine, it means the same as function. You'll see on the picture here, I don't know what that woman's smiling at him for when they should be looking at the robot. You give something to the robot does the job, and it outputs a result in most cases. So here is a function in Python. Now in Python, when you define a function, you actually use the def keyword, not function. In PHP and JavaScript you say function, in Python you say def. There's the name of the function, which is called say hello, so I've given it a nice descriptive name. Those brackets after the name of the function are for arguments. So I'm passing through no arguments and it's printing hello world. Now I call that by just saying its name. So I say its name, I put the brackets after it, and if I was passing an argument, which I'm not, then I would put it between those brackets. Let's have a look at what this looks like in JavaScript. We're saying function is say hello, again, nice descriptive name, room for the argument, and then we're opening our braces, saying what will happen, and then closing our braces, and once again we call it by saying its name. So it's basically the same, except one's white space and one isn't. So that's what your baseline function looks like. But most often you're actually going to be passing in an argument. You're going to be saying, here, have eggs, have 2 eggs, have 3 eggs, have 5 eggs. And that might change how it does its job. So this time in JavaScript, I'm going to say the function is called double this, and I'm going to pass it information, and it's going to call that information number. And then it's going to return to me that information times 2. So it's going to double it. So when I pass it to the robot, I say, here's a 5. Double this. Have a go at this. Double this. Double this is the name of the robot. And it will say 10. And it will give me back something. So it's a transaction. I give it an argument. It gives me back a return. So I would say, for instance, new number equals double this 5. So new number is going to equal 10 because it's going to give the function the number 5. It's going to give it back the number 10, which is what new number will equal. Let's have a look at this in Python, same program. Def double this, handing in a thing. Now, it knows that whatever I hand it, it will call number. It's going to return number times 2, and then I'm going to say new number equals double this 5. So very, very similar. Why do we use functions? Well, it keeps our code simple. It means that if we're doing something over and over again, let's say we're generating a random integer in JavaScript. Now, JavaScript doesn't actually do that built in, so we would build a function to do that, so that whenever we wanted a random number, we could say, hey, get random int, go and get me a random int between 1 and 100. It's easier to update. Imagine if your website said, hello user, and you just had a function to do that. If you decided at one point that you wanted to say howdy user, you go and change it in one place, and every time you call that function, it's going to do the new thing that you want. You don't have to go and update it everywhere. It actually makes your code smaller. You don't have to keep rewriting the same thing, and when you do rewrite the same thing, you increase your chance of error. It's really useful for event-driven programming. particularly with JavaScript in our context in a web page. Web pages are at least as much event-driven as they are sequences of code. Things happen when you press something, when a timer goes off. So in a GUI environment, you're much likely to be event-driven, and so you're going to be calling different functions when the user does different things. So, why do we use them? Oh, the heading on this is wrong. These are the guidelines or the recommendations. Oh well. So, keep your functions focused on a single task. Don't try and write a function that does absolutely everything. Just get it to do the job, double number, that sort of thing. Use descriptive function names. Name it after what it's going to do for you. It will pay off very, very quickly. Limit the number of parameters. You can actually hand in multiple parameters. Hand in as few as you can. You don't want a whole lot of complexity here. If you want a random number, tell it the smallest it can be, tell it the largest it can be, let it give you back a number. Don't get too clever. Make sure you're handling your errors in there, because the user might give you something that you're not expecting. They might give you a string when you're expecting an integer. Your function should be able to handle that. And write comments that explain complex logic so that even though it's in one place and easily edited, make it easy to edit when you get there. So that's why we use it, but wait, there is more. A function can accept more than one argument, as I alluded to a minute ago. You can actually give it a whole lot of different arguments. A function can return more than one value. So you could write a function and it could return you two random numbers. It could return you actually it could return you the sum of the two numbers you gave it plus the midpoint of the two numbers that you gave it. It can give you back multiple things, and they come back as an array, and you can look that up if you want to know how to do that. It's not terribly hard. A function can reference another function, so you can kind of build mega functions which when you call them will call two or three other functions, although that can get a little bit confusing. I wouldn't recommend doing that on a regular basis. And there is a way to get a function to accept an unspecified number of arguments, and off the top of my head I don't know how to do that, but it certainly can be done. So what's one reason that we would use a function? Now, you're not in class with me at the moment, so you don't have to worry about that, but I hope that's been useful to you and that you have an idea of how functions work and why we use them.